If you're a Cleveland Browns fan looking for a break from the emotional roller coaster that is the price we pay from loving then hating our Browns, then a big welcome to Cleveland Browns Anonymous, a group therapy podcast to help you survive the season. So let's start our meeting.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley with my associate, Brooke, as we discuss another chapter of Cleveland Browns Anonymous. How you doing, Brooke?
You're all right.
All right. We're getting ready for another Browns loss. Hopefully not a debacle. It's we're recording this Thursday afternoon. Browns play Thursday night and against Pittsburgh Steelers, so maybe they'll get up for that. It's a home game. The weather's not going to be that great. Be windy, snow, but Pittsburgh's used to that. So what's your thoughts, general state of the Browns, Brooke?
I think it could be summed up that I forgot they were playing tonight.
Okay. All
I
right.
thought it
So
was next Thursday. And I checked Bleacher Report and, well, guess they are playing tonight.
all right. So you're the owner, Jimmy Haslam. Let's play Jimmy Haslam. What do you do?
Who picked Watson?
Who picks Watson?
What are those circumstances?
So that's a guy who gets fired. Who picks Watson?
I mean, yeah. Who picked him and who offered him that contract? If Stefanski was banging his hand on the table saying, "Get Watson, I can fix him, pay him all this money," then Stefanski should be fired. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, Al, I know you and I don't agree. I think Jimmy Haslam was the one who said, give him whatever you need to bring him in here. So I think if I'm Jimmy Haslam and if it was me and if I, as the owner, made the call to pick Watson, I would keep this coaching staff. You're going to have a high draft pick. Evaluate the quarterbacks. If there's one out there that you really like, go and draft him. If not, who knows? Maybe you go out, re-sign Jameis for a year, get best player available in the draft, build the offensive line. You know, that's what I would do.
Okay.
I would keep the staff because I think that the staff wasn't the one who picked Watson.
Well, it's not just Watson, though. I mean, obviously, that's a big piece of the shit pie, the Browns fans have had to eat. But it's the general spillover effect. It's one thing to pick Watson and find out he's a bust. I mean, don't forget San Francisco. They didn't pay a king's ransom like we did for the Browns, but they drafted, who was that quarterback 2 years ago? It was a total bust. And then all of a sudden, Brock Purdy steps in, right? I mean, mistakes are going to happen. That's the problem with picking a quarterback. I think what is more the issue, and this is not. I have not heard anybody talk about this in depth. That it's Stefanski's problem is that he continued to play a guy who was clearly the worst quarterback in the quarterback room. And he kept playing him. Now, if he was told you got to keep playing him, he should have refused. He said, I'm not playing him. What, my record? What, I'm going to get tainted? You know what? He's not ready. Or if you're going to reclamate him, like I said in a couple of podcasts, you sit him on the bench. You got to get your head screwed on. It sends a message to the team. You don't lose the locker room. And you put in Jameis. And then you watch him throw for 300 yards or almost 400 yards. What is alarming about Stefanski is the way this whole team is just disintegrated, it seems.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
And I think Stefanski, like a lot of these offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, really don't realize what it's like to be a head coach. Now Stefanski, this is his fourth year, but I wonder what kind of quality of conversations are being had among, Andrew Berry, and of course, here's a guy whose name is starting to pop up, Paul DePodesta, another bright guy from Harvard.
He can
Are
go.
these? Yeah, he can go.
He hasn't done shit.
Yeah, he certainly hasn't been a voice of reason in the room. But one thing, we talked about this story that came out in Atlantic Monthly about Yale and Harvard and how these universities are ruining America. One thing that comes out about the smart people, the McKinseys, the MBAs, whatever, they are never wrong. They're never wrong. And what they tend to do is continually double down and justify a mistake. And that seems to be what's going on with the Browns. They have a lot of smart people in that room who don't seem to be particularly intelligent about learning from their mistakes. And that's what I keep banging the drum about Baker Mayfield. This Watson and Mayfield, they both were just disintegrating, getting worse every game. Baker's last year and Watson this year, starting out with the first game of the season against what is now, which is even more alarming. This Cowboy team is terrible. Okay, it's terrible. The defense is, people are running all over them. The Saints ran all over the Cowboys. I think it was in week 2 or week 3. And what does that tell you about the Browns? So, we let Callahan go, Bill Callahan, the line coach. And now I'm starting to think about, what, why should we let this guy go? He's under contract. He's under contract. No, you stay. You stay another year here. Then you can go help your son. You honor your contract.
Well,
there's something about.
Let me propose a scenario. You're Jimmy Haslam, right? You're sitting in your office. You got your coffee. You just walked in. You get a knock on the door. It's Mike Vrabel. He says, "Hey, Jimmy, I just want to say thank you for keeping me employed, helping out here. Hey, by the way, I've got a serious offer here from the Saints. So I think I'm gonna. Yeah. What do you do?
Okay, I'd say go take it. Take it, Mike. Here's the problem. Changing coaches is not going to solve anything if the organization is shaky to begin with. I mean, you think about Brooke, who is the controller of, Riley Painting and Contracting company I started 50 years ago. We got some great people in our company. And yet we are continually learning and improving and evolving. I've made some bonehead decisions this year. Our foreman, some of them were asleep at the wheel. It's an organization. When I say it's an organizational failure, it's only a failure if you don't learn from your mistakes. Now, Stefanski's got to learn how to be a head coach. Now, if I'm Jimmy Haslam, if I could do that switcheroo, Freaky Friday time, I'm gonna have a meeting and say, look at you. You guys told me about Watson, right? So tell me how you screwed this up. Let's go around the room. And for the first time, these guys are going to start taking ownership. And maybe they'll end up being better coaches, better GMs as a result. That is how you build an organization. You develop a quarterback. Quarterback is inevitably going to crash and burn. Sometimes they have to they have to sit on the bench. And then they end up like Geno Smith. Or look at Russell Wilson with the Steelers. I mean, how do the Steelers keep doing this? They don't have a revolving door with coach or general manager. It's an organization. And I think the Browns have been, they've lost some close games, Watson was terrible. I mean, let's put it this way, Brooke. If we didn't have Watson as quarterback on week 1 and was Jameis playing, or let's say Jameis comes in week 2 because Watson's terrible, the Browns probably win 3 games. All right. And if Stefanski has a heart-to-heart with the now tarnished defensive coordinator, Joe Woods too, things change. I think you need to start thinking about, as an organization, developing the key players you have. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, the Steelers are, the gold standard of running an organization.
Packers?
They've had the same coach for a long time and previous coach before that for a long time. So, hey, I'm not advocating that Stefanski should lose his job. I said in the last podcast that, I think he is a good coach. I think he's learning. I like the idea of having stability. I mean, it's weird. I trust Andrew Berry. I trust Stefanski. I think that they're smart guys. I think they're good at evaluating the talent. It's just, I think the big thing that I want to know, and we'll never know, is who picked Watson? Who was the one who said, go get this guy? I mean, that to me that is so alarming, because he has been, I mean,
he's
like,
the cancer. He's the cancer on the team.
He is beyond bad. I mean, they're comparing his numbers to Jamarcus Russell. That's how bad he was. And it's like, I just can't get over that.
I think that is inherently what the problem is. In fact, if you looked at Baker's numbers, his last 5 or 6 games, his last season, they were Jamarcus Russell's numbers. So right away, you've got a head coach who does not know how to bench a quarterback. Right? That's something he doesn't have in his toolbox. And he should have benched him. Yeah, because if he doesn't, it's not only gonna, you're not gonna win the game, but you're gonna demoralize the locker room. It's like a cancer. You gotta cut it out. Now, it doesn't mean you cut Watson, but you sit him down. You send a message. And I think Stefanski, when he's his first press conference, what was the saying he does about character? He had some phrase. He came in, walks in, good-looking guy with his son, family man. And he had some phrase he said, and we'll look it up. He talked about character and hard work and this and that. That was just all talk. That's all that was. He's got Clowney acting out. Didn't do anything about that. He's got Baker sulking, not coming off with a press conference. I mean, really. He's got OBJ's dad sending a video. These guys do not know how to maintain order. They are so buried in their spreadsheets and analytics, which I think are important, but they're missing the X factor of what a great head coach is. A great head coach like Parcells, like Lombardi, like Bill Walsh, they are always in control. Parcells would have never put up with that kind of drama. And I think that's the problem. If they're going to get another Stefanski guy, another bright defensive coordinator, they still have the same problem. They don't know how to develop a head coach. Your thoughts?
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. Getting your house ready to sell? Or you just need some basic repairs, and you can't get anybody to come out or even return your phone call. Then call Riley Painting and Contracting, your home mechanics, for all of your home repair needs, from electrical, plumbing, roof repairs, and getting your house ready to sell. 45 years in the business, a AAA on the Better Business Bureau, and we're on the preferred contractor list in Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights. You can contact us by calling 216-371-8160 and leave a message, and guess what? We'll call you back.
Okay, so what do you do if you're Haslam?
You know what? You got Barry, you got Stefanski, you get rid of DePodesta. He's been a nothing burger. And maybe you bring in a management consultant, not McKinsey. We'll just tell you what you want to hear. But you get somebody who's going to come in, an outsider, and maybe you sit down and have maybe an organizational retreat. Maybe they go to the Greenbrier after the season. Okay, not the team. They go to the Greenbrier. And then they get somebody in the room and say, now, all right, let's dissect Watson. What did you do here, Jimmy? Did you just sign off on that? Okay, who was the guy that brought this deal? Why didn't you say something, Andrew, in the press conference? Kevin, why are you doing the same thing you did with Baker when you just look like a fool? If Jimmy Haslam wants to have a great organization, Super Bowl, like Pittsburgh, Green Bay, San Francisco, the Giants under Parcells, the Packers under Lombardi, he's got to learn how to be an owner of an NFL football team. Andrew Berry needs how to learn how to admit his mistakes and learn how to be a GM. The same with Stefanski. You guys were terrible this year. How are you going to change?
Yeah.
We don't need to draft another quarterback in an organization that has deficiencies? That's not going to solve anything. So that's what I would do. Too bad I can't buy this team. I'm sorry. I've made so many mistakes in my 50 years in this business, Brooke, and you've heard it. I've made so many mistakes that the biggest mistake you can make is not learning from your mistakes. That's it. That's it. And then when you start seeing that's when you start seeing the X factor. It's not a scheme. Yeah, maybe you, Jimmy, you made a lot of money in the truck stop business. Even there were some questions. But, right. So.
Yeah, I think Jimmy is fighting every bone in his body not to fire this whole organization, because that's what he does. I mean, like when he fired, when he fired John Dorsey, I was like, what the, so I think maybe he is learning from his experience of maybe I jumped the gun with Dorsey. Maybe I should have given him a second shot. I think, Jimmy came from the Pittsburgh Steelers, so he knows what a good organization is supposed to look like. And, it's, hey, you got a bad season. You don't immediately go to firing everyone on that staff. But I know that there's going to be change either way, whether that's Watson, whether that's DePodesta, whether that's Stefanski. I'll tell you this, though, if they roll back with the same team with everything, I'm going to just skip the year.
I'll tell you, if they came back with the same team and hit some home runs in the draft, and they didn't have Watson in quarterback, they had Jameis and DTR, that would be a good team. that would be a good team. And they improved on coaching across the board because they've got the talent and they still have a window on that talent. But the coaching staff and the front office, they need to start. They're the problem, and they need to grow and learn and improve. Okay, you're talking about Andrew Berry and Stefanski. This is their first time ever being in charge. Okay, they're as bad as a rookie quarterback. So Stefanski's got to shut up and start coaching on the field instead of mouthing off cliches. Every time he should. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think too, there is something because I listen to this one podcast every week. And like you look at a team like the Lions and the Chargers, they built that team the right way. They didn't they built the offensive line, they built the defense, they've got good role players, they've got great head coaches, great coordinators. So, I mean, hey, I'm already looking towards the draft, but I'll tell you one thing, unless there is a quarterback who Stefanski and Andrew Berry are in agreement on, of this guy's it, we're picking him, then fine, go ahead and pick him. But if he's not there and he's a reach, and let's say you've got like the 5th pick, just get the best player. I don't care if it's some offensive tackle. I don't care if it's some, wide receiver or, defensive back. Just don't reach for a quarterback. You got Jameis, go get Kirk Cousins, get someone who's like just a stopgap, a professional, and build this team the right way. Don't put it together with,
Can you imagine? Exactly. Please look at all these quarterbacks that are busts. Okay, yeah. Look at Washington Redskins. They hit a home run, but look at the Bears pick. That guy's struggling. I mean, getting the quarterback a top draft pick, it's not going to solve your problem. I'm going to repeat myself. But can you imagine if you had a Khalil Mack, a TJ Watt on defense to team up with Miles? Who was that great tackle with the Rams, just retired a couple years ago?
Aaron Donald, a shutdown linebacker to go with JOK.
I mean, a Brian Urlacher, a Ray Lewis. You need a Hall of Famer on that defense. You need a Troy Polamalu, an Ed Reed, a Hall of Famer on that defense. And you just and the Browns just need a competent quarterback. And if we really want to keep it simple, I mean, we're talking about the election. The election was won or lost on the economy, inflation. The Dems didn't talk about it. Trump talked about it. He wins. The Browns at quarterback, we don't need a superstar. Okay? We could have developed Baker. If Baker had sat down, Baker would have been competent. Joe Flacco would have been competent, stepping in, starting the season, right? We just need competency at quarterback. And when you think about the 2 years the Browns didn't make the playoffs, for the Baker last year, quarterback play was killing the Browns. And the same thing would have been last year if Flacco hadn't stepped in. So it's real, it's as dark as it is now, it's not without hope. Let's just keep it simple. And that's what Haslam Haslam needs to learn how to manage his top people without stepping in the way, without doing what he did with Ray Farmer. And it starts with everybody learning from their mistakes. And I'm with you, Brooke. We get a competent quarterback. We get guys healthy. I think we should there's one guy made a great point. We should maybe look at how we're training these guys before the season to avoid injuries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah. So just break it down. Competency at quarterback. If the guy can't cut it, he doesn't play. We're not here the regular season is not to develop a quarterback. Okay. And you got to have people in the room who are able to look in the mirror and own their mistakes. And that's what Harvard and Yale does not bring you. Harvard and Yale, they have a frickin' postdoc degree in avoiding responsibility. That's what they specialize in. You know, to hear them talk, they're one game away from the Super Bowl. Hey, you guys screwed up. Paul D, Andrew, Kevin, Jimmy, right? You should have you never should have started Watson. Bad enough that you went out and got him and paid him the money and lost the draft picks, but then you just kept digging the hole deeper. So stop digging the hole. I'll end on that note. Your final thoughts, Brooke?
Yeah, I think too, it's going to be really interesting to see what the kind of year-end press conference is going to be like. But, you can't bring this whole circus back again.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to add one postscript to that. News conference? I am so disappointed in the press enabling this bullshit. Why can't they start demanding some different answers and start representing the fans? Get some fans in there to ask some questions. Get Tony Rizzo in there. All right? Instead of these,
We'll sneak you in.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Brooke, let's end it there. My blood pressure's going up. I got to watch it.
Uh-oh. All right.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Pete. We'll talk after next week, after the Pittsburgh debacle. All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Browns Anonymous podcast with Mike Riley. We have a lot more content on the way as we get this new podcast started. You can also check out some of our other podcasts like the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast and other new ones that will start soon. On any platform that you find yourself listening to us on, feel free to leave us a like or comment or follow us. It always helps.